Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Uncle Marv podcast. I am your host, Marvin B. And yes, you heard a little different music to start the show because we are going to be talking basketball for a little bit of tonight. And I am joined by good friend and basketball phenom Nino Frederico. Nino, how are you?
Did you say basketball phenom?
Yes.
I don't think you're talking to me.
You, as our designated, or what was the better word for it? Designated shooter?
Shooter? I was designated taker of shots. I don't know how many of them actually went in. I think that's part of the problem. But yeah, I don't really remember any shots I didn't like.
You could shoot just walking in the gym.
Yeah, that's right.
And I remember Coach Benfield at halftime always going over stats, or was it after the game? He'd go over stats and he'd, be like, B, 3 for 6. And then he'd go, Nino, 3 for 22.
6 turnovers.
And all through the game, every time you go to shoot, no,
it
goes in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had a couple of games back then. I had a couple of games where some of them went in.
Yeah. We did pretty good. We won most of our games.
Yeah, I once got to high school. I don't know how many we won then. Back in the Benfield days at Delora, we won a lot of games back there.
We did. We were. Let's see. Were we co-county champs or were we county champs the year we beat Central?
Well, the 7th and 8th grade team, I think we were co-county champs that year. We were in 8th grade because we beat them after they beat the heck out of us, and then we beat them on a close game.
Yeah.
But they didn't really have a county championship. The 9th grade is when they actually had a county championship tournament, which I don't remember. I think we came in second.
I think we lost. Didn't we lose on that Hail Mary game winner from that kid from Johnson where we let him dribble up and take that shot?
I don't remember that, but that could have easily happened.
Yeah. Back when we played the 2-1-2 zone.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yep, that's pretty much the defense we played all the time.
Yep.
Every once in a while, we'd switch to man or a box and one if they had a really good guy.
We tried that on Hoover, and that guy still lit us up that one year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious. All right. Well, let's get a little bit of news out of the way first, since you are from Satellite as well. And folks, just to let you know, we might be joined by a third person. I did announce Dave Becker was going to be on the show with us, but Dave Becker is a math genius. And his daughter.
It's the same thing. Calling him a math genius is like calling me a shooter.
Well, apparently his daughter has a math test tomorrow and is in panic mode. So dad is doing his duty with helping her prep for her test. So we don't know if he'll be able to break away from that and join us, but if he does, he's welcome at any time. And we will wait for him.
He's certainly better able to help his kid than I am. It's been so long since addition and subtraction and multiplication and division is about the most of it I ever do.
Yeah.
And I can't help my kids with their math homework ever. They're all way beyond whatever I ever learned how to do. So.
Yeah, kids today, I don't know if I could even try to help them with stuff.
Right. It's, the good part is since I can't help them, they don't bother me.
Right. That's good. Yeah. Well, let's get to this bit of news because I don't want to
go.
It. The reunion.
Okay.
For the class of 85, our class is going to be held July 16th and 17th at the Melbourne Beach Hilton. You can call the hotel directly at 321-777-5000 to book your room. I have already booked my room. Have you, Nino?
I have booked a room. Our good friend John Cordray and I will be rooming together. So he booked the room actually. Make
All
sure
right.
you call in. You tell him, you say, what is it? SHS 85, I think
Yep.
is the promo code in order to get the better rate for the room.
Yeah, I did that, and so I'm a Hilton Honors,
Right.
and I got a better rate with my Hilton program.
Oh, there you
Probably-
go.
So, of course, we upgraded too. I'm bringing the wife, so
Oh, okay.
Miss
Good.
Kim will be with me, so I will not be
Awesome.
able to bunk with anybody, stay out late, get drunk, that sort of stuff.
Well, I guess you could still do that, but that, it's not going to be fun when you get back to your room.
No, it would not be. So, if you are on Facebook, be sure to head over to the Satellite High School Class of 1985 Facebook page. Tina Veltri runs that page and is also in charge of the reunion. There is also, in addition this year, Friday night, I believe for the first time ever, there will be the welcome edition. If you are in the class of 84 or the class of 86, we are going to allow you to come hang out with us. There is a little bit of a charge. I'm not sure what the charge is, but I will have the link to the Facebook page in there. And the cost for those of us that are in the 85, I believe is $80 for Friday and Saturday nights. And then I think it's a
I think
$10.
I haven't checked out the amounts personally, but
I mean, we're going to pay it, right? I mean,
of course I'm going to pay. I just haven't gotten around to that.
Yep. And there is a link, paypal.me/SHS Reunion 85, where you can pay ahead of time, of course. I have the link in the show notes. And if you head to unclemarv.com and go to the blogs, I've actually put a post there with all the reunion information. So that
Hey,
is
I
gonna
think
be-
one of the things I'd like to add is, you mentioned the fact that the other classes are going to be there.
Yep.
Or have, that Tina has kind of opened up the thing. I think she's opened up the entire weekend for people who of the other classes to join us if they want to. So I don't think it's just limited to, just you can only come Friday night. I think they could be there.
Well,
as I know. And as
I
far as I
haven't-
think that's fantastic, because some of
Yeah.
those just want to see them as much as I want to see the people from 85. So, if any of you guys are out there, come on out. We want, these reunions are about seeing people that you hadn't seen in a while, and just catching up and telling stories. And the more people come from different classes, I guess that's more stories and more catching up there is for us to do. So,
well, there's definitely going to be a story if it's not true that they're allowed all 3 nights. So
if I'm wrong, I mean, that wouldn't be the first time. Well, it would be the last. That's for sure. But
yeah, her latest page, but this is a while back. And listen, I have tried to get Tina on the show to confirm some of these things, but she has basically, I got her one time on the phone, and I think that was by accident. She was down here in my area.
Right.
Her son was at a event down here, and I called, and she thought it was the local hotel or something, and answered by mistake. So
that's funny. I talked to her just last week, and because I had read that there was some sort of problem with the rooms.
Yes.
What happened was they just had to add more rooms to the block because they were sold out of the ones that they had allotted for the reunion. So they had to add more rooms, and so she told me about that's what was going on. So and I spoke to her for I guess probably about 45 minutes.
Nice.
Telling stories and whatnot.
Sweet. Yeah, I think she said just yesterday 21 rooms were already booked, and they added the others. So, and speaking of Wendy Lynn Morrison, thank you for letting us know that you and Uli are booked.
Awesome. It'll be great.
Uli is 84, so he will be joining us.
It'll be good to see him. Haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even remember she's probably been to one or two of the other reunions over the years. I've killed those brain cells probably at the reunion. So
I'm trying to remember the last one I was at. I believe it was probably 10 years ago. I don't think I went to the.
Yeah, that was the last one for you. I saw you.
Yeah, brought the
I
wife.
don't know if it was, I think wasn't that like 6 years ago?
I don't know.
because we were supposed to have one last year.
Right.
It got postponed because of the pandemic.
Hang
But
on. She's texting
I
me.
remember
So let
that
me
you were at the one before that. You say?
don't know. I was cheating. I thought the wife was texting me to let me know.
Oh,
She might be watching, and
well, she was there, wasn't she?
she was there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And looky here.
Her, so.
Newbie and Beal are also booked. So
Awesome.
Gonna see some people there.
Yeah, it's going to be
All
fun.
Well, that should be good. So July 16th through the 18th, folks. Hope to see you all there. And if you have questions, get with Tina on the Facebook.
Yeah, she said there was going to be a few people there who hadn't been to one before, so that'll be fun.
That should be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Well, of
don't
course,
have
it'll be
any-
fun if there are people I remember.
Oh, looky here. Mr. Kendall in the house. You better book soon, sir.
Yes.
I believe.
I just talked to Chris the other day. He told me he was going to book a room one night. So I told him he better get on it. So get
All
on.
right. And looky here. So he does say he will be there. But Todd, the Overcomer Shoemaker, has already done what we were going to ask later. Talking about the game tonight, Gonzaga versus Baylor, and he has put in his prediction. Gonzaga
Okay.
85, Baylor 81. So, Nino, have you been watching the tournament?
So I've watched a couple of games. You know, I didn't watch any of the first round games. I didn't watch any of the second round games. I don't know that I watched hardly any games all season. But I started watching, you know, and one of the things Dave told you whenever you guys were talking about having him on a show too, is he organized a Sweet 16 pool. The way it works is there's eight people in the pool, and we each drafted two teams in what's called a serpentine draft. You know, where the team guy who picks number one, makes the first pick, and on down to number 8, and number 8 makes 2 picks, and then you go the other direction. So the guy who picked first, he gets last pick in the second round.
Okay, so sort of like fantasy football.
Yeah. They call it a snake draft. I guess they call it a snake draft.
Yeah.
So after we had the draft for that, Becker was in it, his son, myself, Billy Lenz, if you remember Billy.
Yep.
Let's see. A couple other people that Dave knows from teaching and stuff. So we had this draft. And after that, I started watching the games, you know, because now I care. Before I filled out a bracket, and I did so poorly in my bracket that I wasn't I wasn't watching anymore. But so now I'm watching the games and watching a little bit of the analysis and listening to the guys. So, you know, whatever they say is what I know.
Yeah. So of course I was watching Florida State.
Right.
Although I did get the feeling early on that they were not going to do as good as they should have done last year. Last year was a much better team. I thought they had a chance to definitely be a Final Four team. And I think they probably could have won it all.
Last year?
Yeah. I mean, it'd have been tough, but I think they had a shot. And especially when your number 6 guy off the bench gets drafted number 4 in the draft.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You should be good.
Should be. But I did watch some other games. I wasn't as into it as I usually have been. I've actually, you know, since I retired a few years back, I haven't really been watching a lot of ball, including the pros.
Right.
And, you know, Duke hasn't been good. The ACC hasn't been good. But I watched last weekend. I watched the Sweet 16 Elite 8. I'm not in any leagues, so I don't have any money riding on any of this.
Right.
But I'm watching, and I'll watch tonight. I think that tonight could be one of the most watched games in quite some time.
And you know what I think is interesting about that is with Gonzaga in the tournament, they're not from a conference that people really know much about.
No.
And me being a UCF guy, where I'm always talking about other conferences besides the Power Five, so to speak. So for Gonzaga to play in this game and draw this big rating, like you're talking about, the possibility, I think that's fantastic. It just shows you that, it doesn't have to be one of the select conferences for your team to be good and your team to be worth watching. And they're definitely worth watching. I watched the game the other night against UCLA, which was a fantastic game.
Oh, yeah.
Even without the buzzer beater at the end. The game was, lead changes all over the place. It was a great game.
Yep.
And, here they are. They're a great team. I think they've been the best team most of the year. I think they're a great, I think they're going to win. I think Gonzaga's going to win. But I think it's great that people think that people are going to really watch this game and see this team play. No, nothing to take anything away from Baylor. They're a really good team too. And as a matter of fact, what makes this tough for me is I'm rooting for Gonzaga because I like to root for the conference that no one's heard of team. But I had Baylor in the pool. So, Baylor, I get a bunch of money.
It's always about the money, Go ahead and say it.
So I think more of me is rooting for Baylor because my wallet takes it over, but I can't lose in this one because I'd love to see Gonzaga, pull it out. And as a matter of fact, what was really tough was Baylor was playing against Houston. Houston's from the American Conference. That's UCF's conference. So I wanted to see them do well too. But, of course, they didn't do so well against Baylor. Baylor's a really, really good team.
Yeah. I think
This
Houston
is a really tremendous matchup, I think.
Yeah. Houston's one of those teams that I think fundamentally they're not as good as the others, but they can streak, they can hit shots, and they just did not hit them the other night. They
were just cold. Yeah, that happens. Your team runs cold, you're not going to win. Especially if shooting is the way you were if it's how you got there. So it was kind of weird for me, Baylor or Houston. Well, my wallet says Baylor, so Baylor. But today, I think it's going to be a great matchup again. Gonzaga is just a great team all around. They do everything well. Baylor, I think, has the guard play. That's the thing that they talk about for the tournament. Whichever team has the best guard play is usually the team that wins. So I'm going to be a tough one. It's going to be good.
I don't know. I think this year, outside of Suggs for Gonzaga, I think the stash, what's his name, Timmy is probably going to be a deciding factor again. What was so great about the Gonzaga UCLA game is both teams pretty much played. I can't say perfect basketball.
Yes.
If you talk about fundamentally playing a game the way it should be played, both teams did what they wanted to do. Both teams did play good defense. It wasn't that, teams were just running up the floor and scoring at will. Yeah. You had to earn those shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
And to shoot 58% is tremendous. And if you shoot 58%, you should win.
Yeah.
But UCLA didn't because they didn't have the last shot.
No, that's right. Yeah. Another thing that I was reading about, that something that I just want to say about basketball in general. One of the things that happened late in that game was Timmy took a charge on that guy from what the heck is his name? Juzang or
Juzang?
Juzang, yeah. He took a charge. And, a lot of people are like, oh, the referees should swallow their whistle at the end of the game. Well, no. If they did, then everybody would just foul the heck out of everybody at the end of the game because the referees are swallowing the whistle. If it's a foul, it's a foul. If it's a charge, it's a charge. If it's, if that's what happened, that's what happened. It shouldn't change the way they call the game just because it's the last few seconds.
Right.
So that was just my own little rant, I guess, about people who think that the referee should call the game differently at the end. No, if it's a foul, it's a foul. And that was a charge. I thought as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, that's a charge right there. So I thought it was the right call. And I thought it was a call that should have been made at no matter what the time the game is.
Yeah. So that is something that has always been talked about. One of the reasons that I've kind of stopped watching basketball with a passion. Now, I still will watch, but do you find yourself sitting there watching the way they play the game now thinking, oh my goodness gracious, we could have never gotten away with some of the
Yeah. Well,
we couldn't touch a person.
I think that's funny. I don't really – maybe I just don't watch the game with that much passion anymore. So I don't really think like that. But you're right. It's such a – I mean, I will say this, though. In that game, the UCLA kid, I saw that one kid, he pivoted, and then all of a sudden he jumped up and he took 2 steps and then shot. I was like, oh, my God, that was a travel.
Yeah.
You can't do that. And he sure as heck got away with it. It was no big deal. And the announcers didn't even say anything. Oh, my God, he got away with the travel there. Nothing. It was like, whoop. It was like totally a travel. I mean, next 2 trips down, the guy traveled again later. And it was a different – it was different, but I thought, man, you can't do that. And I watched the game with my daughter, and she said she played 1 year of basketball. And that was it. My kids all play soccer, so I don't get to talk a lot of basketball and stuff with them. Maybe that's why I don't watch so much anymore. But
that should be the way it is. You're into what your kids are into.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm into football, and I've always been into football, so I'm going to continue to watch that college football mostly. I think fantasy football helps me keep involved with the NFL. If it wasn't for fantasy football, I don't know that I'd even watch the NFL. But
fantasy football has ruined the way I watch the NFL. I haven't played fantasy in about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
But it is hard to sit and watch a game. So fantasy and red zone.
Yeah.
NFL red zone has made it to where if you got to watch the same game and it is boring, that is horrible.
You can't watch people unless they're inside the 20.
That's right.
That's so funny. That's true. I mean, when I watch the NFL, all I'm watching is the ticker. Okay. Who scored? Who on my team scored on one of the teams? That's all I'm watching is the scores roll through. I don't watch the game.
Yeah.
So fantasy football has kept me interested, but ruined, I agree with you, completely ruined the way I watch the football game. So I watch the college games, and I really enjoy that. I think that's the thing that I'm the most passionate about. And, believe it or not, because my kids play soccer, now all of a sudden I watch soccer games. And
the real professional soccer games?
Yes, I watched the MLS games. We have a team here in Orlando. Well, we like to go sometimes. I watch those games. I watch the ladies' games.
Oh, okay. Now you're fibbing.
I'm not kidding you. I actually, in soccer, I think the ladies' games are just as good as the men.
Okay.
I mean, if they played against each other, they wouldn't, the men would win. But
who's that guy?
I love watching the game.
We have a team that plays like 3 blocks from here, and I can't remember. David Beckham. What's his team?
Yeah, Beckham's team, Miami FC.
Yeah, they're literally like 4 blocks north of.
Oh, yeah?
Here. Yeah.
Nice. But
we don't.
If you don't care, then it's not nice.
I'm not going to go watch that. But we can hear the games, actually, sometimes.
Sure.
If the wind's blowing right, we can hear.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I haven't gone to see an Orlando City game in a while, but I watch them when they're on TV. And then I record the Premiership games, from England.
You record them?
Well, because sometimes they're on at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, okay.
The time zone difference. And I'm not always available to just sit and watch the game, but I watch those games sometimes too.
All right. So Beckham's team is called Inter Miami.
Oh, that's it, right? Inter Miami FC. Is it Inter Miami FC?
Inter Miami CF.
CF. Okay.
And don't ask me what the CF stands for. Wait a minute. Okay.
Club football, I think.
So one line says CF, the other says FC. So
It's FC is football club. Because soccer.
Wikipedia says CF, so I'm going with that.
Yeah. I think it is CF, now that you mention it.
Oh.
But yeah, I'll watch those games. I watch those games just as much as I watch any, because my kids all play.
Yeah.
I've learned. And, the way I think about it is the reason why I didn't like watching those games before is because I had no idea what in the heck was going on. I like to watch hockey because there's a lot of action, but I still kind of don't really know exactly what they're doing. They're doing, but I don't know. So it's tougher for me to watch. But now that I've learned what they're doing on the soccer field, man, I get it and I can watch it.
I mean, I got it, but it was still too slow at times.
It is slow. It is a little bit slow. I do agree with a lot of people that it's irritating. The flopping is very irritating. I have learned, though, that a reason why they do that sometimes, they kind of pretend that they're hurt, and the next thing you know, they're up running, is just to give everybody a rest.
Yeah.
But
because they don't have timeouts, like
right there, you can't call timeout in the middle of in a soccer game. You can't do that. There's another thing that irritates me. There's a few things that irritate me about the game. The clock. It just keeps running.
The always running clock.
And yeah, and then at the end of the game, the referee just kind of arbitrarily adds some time. And it's always an exact amount of time, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes. You can't tell me that because a guy was injured, he was injured for only 4 minutes. It's weird. Why don't you just stop the clock? And then when the buzzer goes off, then it's over, like every other sport does. No,
that would be
that way.
That would be the way to go. But I'm sure what probably happened is back in the day when they first started, they probably couldn't stop the clock.
That's exactly what I think. Exactly. It was the hands of the clock.
Yep, the mechanical clock.
Like we don't even can't. It's so long ago that we've read a clock like that. I don't even remember what it's called. It's a hand that goes around the circle, and when it gets here, that's the end.
The analog clock.
Yeah. That's the end. So they don't know how to. They don't do it. It drives me crazy for the kid. Now, for the professional games, it's different because if the ball gets kicked, if somebody shoots at the goal and it goes past the goal, well, it goes into the bleachers or it goes up against the wall right there. And there's another ball sitting right there all the time.
Yeah, gotta use the same ball. That's a weird rule.
There's a ball sitting. Well, when the kids play, they don't play on a stadium. They play in an open field where there's goals at the end. Well, if you kick it out past the goal, it goes 50
down the street.
Right? Well, the goalie's got to go run and get it. And if their team is winning, that goalie's not running very fast. And they can just waste the time, and there's no thing. There's nothing. The referee can't just stop the clock because they're wasting time. And then they'll substitute because little kids, young kids games, you can substitute as many people as you want, however you want. So the clock's running while you're substituting people, and they just substitute. They just keep subbing just to waste time, and it drives me crazy.
Kind of like the old hack-a-shack rules in basketball, right?
So yeah, whatever. Yeah, you foul him because he's not going to make the shots. Stop the clock all the time. But in soccer, you can't stop the clock; it just runs. Just time if you're winning.
So now, are you one of those parents that sits in the stands and yells during the game? Are you rooting for your kids and rooting against the opponents and calling out the refs?
This is something that my wife and I go. She yells at me at all the time because No, I'm not one of those guys that's constantly yelling at the referees or yelling at the players or anything like that. I don't yell instruction at the players at all, because I've talked to coaches about that, and it confuses the players. I've talked to players about that. Dads out there, if you're what, don't give your players any instruction, because it drives the coach crazy.
Yep.
You're trying to tell them to do something different. We just can't hear what the coach is telling. We don't know what the coach is telling them, because, so we feel like we want to try to help, but all we're doing is confusing the kids. So I don't do that. If the referees blow a call, you might hear me. I tell my wife, I just provide feedback. But, that's just because you get upset when you want your kid to win, you want your kid to succeed, you want their team to succeed, and you feel like the referees are hurting them. So you say something. And I'll feed off the other people. If there's other people that are all over them, then eventually I'll join in. But it's not a good idea. You're not going to change anybody's mind. Come on. But I will say this. The soccer referees, man, they are the worst at dealing with criticism.
Really?
NBA, basketball referees just keep going. You say a couple of things to the referee in the soccer, they stop the match and point you out and get out of here, kick you. Now, I remember getting kicked out of a basketball. But that was a little different. This one, you could yell at the referees really all you wanted to, as long as you didn't use bad language. And but these soccer refs, man, I guess you can say that they don't put up with anything. I think they just hear too much. Call the game and let the kids play. If people yell at you, that's tough. That's part of it.
Wow.
It's not part of it in soccer.
That is interesting. You would think that soccer fields are big enough and it's open air, they wouldn't hear everything, as opposed to, being right next to courtside on a basketball court or something like that. So
the field for the club team games anyway. You're right on the field, because you bring a chair. You're not sitting up in the bleachers, like you're at the high school games, you sit up in the bleachers.
Right.
For the club games, because in soccer, the club team is the most important, not the high school team. So, you go to the club team games and you're sitting in your chair, 2 feet from the field. So you're right there on the field. They can hear everything. So at the high school games, the referees are worse, but they put up with more stuff because you're further away, I guess.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I don't think we're going to have Mr. Becker popping on, so we'll just have to.
Yeah, that with him. I guess we're doing fine without him.
All right, so
chime in on the chat board with anything.
Well, so Todd did put a thing in here that he started watching rugby a few years ago, and I have nothing to offer on the topic of rugby.
I agree. I don't really know anything about the sport. They look like really tough guys, though. And I've seen, videos of women playing, and they look pretty tough too. I don't know that I want to mess with any of those women either. But it looks like it'd be fun. I just don't understand it, and that's why I don't. Just like I said before, all of a sudden, I like to watch the highlights where they're pitching the ball back to each other, and the guy goes running up the field and breaks a tackle and scores. But sometimes I see him get tackled, and all of a sudden the ball squirts out, and they go run again. And I'm like, what the heck is that? How does that work?
Yeah, that's the sport that is quite confusing as well.
I don't know how it works. So
I don't even know how to keep score.
Cross game the other day. You watched that?
I don't watch that either.
Well, I was so my 2 older daughters, they play football at the high school. And high schools now, they have flag football for girls in the spring.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's not powder puff. Remember we did the powder puff game?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had a couple of the football players would coach the girls, and they'd play football. They'd play a powder puff game. It was a flag football game.
Yep. I remember those.
This is not powder puff football. It's 7-on-7, and it's kind of serious. They play against other teams from other schools, and they have a state championship. And the coach of the team at my kids' school is the head football coach of the regular football team. So they have real football coaches coaching these girls, and it's great. I love watching those games. But we had the game last week, and then after it, the boys played a lacrosse game on the same field. So we were still there, so we sat and watched a little bit. I'd never seen one of those games live before. Pretty fun. I don't know anything about it, but it was fun.
Do you think that the women's football grew out of the lingerie bowl? Remember that?
I don't think so. The lingerie football is I don't know. I find that to be really funny. I guess the ladies play. They're real serious about playing football, but I don't see how serious they can be dressed like they are.
I don't know. They play like they're serious, and they're playing for money. And
I can't imagine who the guys are that go to those games.
I tried to watch one time, and I think I made it 5 minutes.
I don't see how you take that seriously.
No.
But
I watched.
I don't want to take anything away from the athletes that are out there, because they are very athletic and they're very fast and strong and whatnot. But it bothers me that it's lingerie football, Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like worse than the XFL, if you got to be gimmicky.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well,
That's the problem.
I mean, they had some weird rules just for the fun of it. I went to a couple of those games that when they first came out, they had a team out here in Orlando. We went to games, and here I don't know what it was like in the other venues, but here it was just a bunch of rednecks who were hoping that there were women who were, going to flash them or something. That's what it was. It was guys that would get drunk at a tailgate and hope that there was women that got drunk and would do something stupid. So that's the experience with the XFL. The football wasn't that bad.
The football wasn't. But yeah, you're talking about the experience of guys hanging out the bar hoping to see that stripper as she walks out, right?
Yeah, that's what they were doing. They were hanging around on the field. There was a guy where I'm sitting, trying to watch the game, and there's a guy 2 rows down, standing up, facing up. He wasn't watching the football game at all. He wasn't standing up to watch the game. He was standing in the crowd to see what the people in the crowd might do.
Oh, I thought there was like a big screen, and he was checking that out instead of the game.
No. He just wanted to see if there was some stripper up in the crowd who was going to flash everybody. That's what he's going to happen, and so he's out there and watched it from up there, watched the game like that. And we're like, dude, sit down. We're trying to watch a football game. But he wasn't having any of that. So.
All right.
There was a fight. Which that was fun.
Fights are good no matter where they are, right?
It's always fun when somebody gets mad.
Always good to watch a bar fight, a fight at Walmart. It's always fun to watch a fight. All right. Well, I keep getting texted that apparently the video tonight is a little bit choppy, so I apologize for those of you that are watching. If you're listening by audio, it's going to be pristine, because I've got this editing that we can do after the fact. But if you're watching, I apologize. I can't see it because Nino and I look just fine, but I can't see what's being broadcast live.
Well, I don't know what's being broadcast, but every once in a while I see that you freeze.
Okay.
So maybe that's what everybody else is seeing. What I'm seeing you.
Could be. I've got Comcast down here.
I see me talking, and it's weird to see that, but I see it. And then I look over at you from time to time, and you're frozen. But I still hear what you're saying, and you're keeping up with the conversation. So I don't know what that means to the other people
Don't have to worry
out there
about it.
in podcast land or whatever the heck you call it.
So let me ask this for you. So you've got the family wall behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And we don't have, we have some of that. But, of course, you've noticed us on Facebook. We've been having the whole HGTV remodel.
Right.
And so the wall behind you, is that what you did when you guys first moved in? Did the wife do that? And do you change out pictures every now and then? How does that work?
Well, this wall, let me see if I can. So there's these pictures over there, and then there's a couple more. If everybody can see everything. This wall didn't always look like this since we've moved in, but it's looked like this probably for 4 or 5 years. I want to say when we first moved in, this room was set up a little bit different. And then we had the TV on this wall and the couch was on the other side. And now I think it was after we did the pool, which was about 6 years ago. We put the pool in and we changed the furniture so that the couch was facing this way so you could see the whole pool from the couch.
Okay.
It would make sense to you if you could see the way the pool is situated out there, because most of the pool is that direction in the back. So we wanted to be able to see out and see the whole pool. So that's why we switched it over. I really do like this configuration much better. And then my wife she put up the pictures and stuff. And it's funny because she'll have the idea to put up the pictures, and then when it's time to actually do it, I have to chime in and say, nope, we switch them like this. I don't know what it is that I'm able to do that. I like things similar. I like,
Are you saying that you have the Martha Stewart gene over the wife?
I'm not going to say that, but a little bit. Sort of, every once in a while, I know how to situate stuff so that it, I can't say that I'm Mr. Feng Shui, whatever the heck that is. I just know the term.
Feng Shui.
Whatever. But, I can, she usually asks me, and then I usually chime in and say, oh, I think it needs to be like this. It usually ends up the way I think is the best way.
All right. Well, good for you. That is not the case down here.
Well, the best thing to do, the thing to do is whenever she asks you, you got to just get her to decide that the way you think is the best way is the best way. Does that make sense?
Of course it makes sense.
You have to make her believe that it was her idea.
Yeah.
And even though that's the way you wanted it to be all along. And actually a good example of that was when my first child was born. We had a few names picked out. We didn't know what we were going to have. A lot of people know now. We said, know what? We're going to be surprised. So we had no idea we were having a girl when a girl came out. And we actually hadn't even decided on a boy's name. We were conflicted on that. But we had a couple of girls' names, and I knew which one I wanted. And then, so my wife has a C-section. So she's laying on the bed like this, and then there's a sterile field, so she doesn't see a thing. So they pull out the baby and, oh, it's a girl, and we're like, yay. And then they put her on the scale, and And I was, I'm not strapped down to the bed or anything. So I walked over there and she says, "What does she look like?" And I thought to myself, she looks like a baby. They all look the same to me. But I said, "She looks like Samantha," because that's the name I wanted. So she said, so yeah, you just kind of you kind of go along with it. And whichever one you think she was going to pick, you pick that one.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that is how it works sometimes. And the other thing is you have to have an answer when they ask.
Yeah, that's good advice.
And give them time to mull over it and think about it.
Sure.
Because if you turn around and say, "Well, what do you think?" Well, you're done right there.
Yeah, you're done.
Because it's one thing to have an answer and lose.
Yeah.
Have an answer and win, than to never give an answer at all.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I try to. I don't know. You try not to make too many waves about certain things. And happy wife is a happy life. I think that's.
Oh, I hate that saying.
I hate that saying too, but if she's happy, everybody's happy.
Yep,
if
that
she's
is
not
true.
happy, nobody's happy.
Yep.
If I'm unhappy, I'm the only one who's unhappy. Everybody else doesn't care. That
is true. That is true. But my wife is happy. So today was the final day of all of our work.
Right. Tell us.
We got. So we have. So to give everybody an idea of the entire project, when we first moved in, we had pavers put in on one side of the house, and the pavers were actually gotten free by our pool guy from another job.
Oh, cool.
And he did the first half of the job, first portion of the job. And when he went to go back to get the rest of the pavers, he was told no, that they found another use for them. So for the longest time, there was a portion of the side of our house where the pavers just simply stopped.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
So we lived like that for a long time. So that was one of the things to do. We have fences on either side of our house. Now, the fence that goes all the way back to the back of the property and around, those are actually owned by the neighbors.
Oh, okay.
But we put a fence up
by their fence.
Right. So the fences that were attached to theirs that were on our property were kind of old and decrepit and not real nice looking. And the wife always wanted those to be replaced.
Sure.
And then, of course, we had on the pool deck Chattahoochee.
Okay.
And the rocks were all starting to fall off. And
the
poor guy said, "Well, just get some sealer and put it." And we were like, "Well, no, we're not going to do that. We'll probably just redo it at some point in time."
Right.
And then we had on the other side of the house just grass and rock and stuff like there.
Sure.
And then last, there was a paver path that went from the back of our patio, which, by the way, we had to add that on. When we bought the house, it was just a cement slab out back.
Right.
So we enclosed that to put the patio on, and then we had the pavers that went out to the pool. Well, those were starting to sink into the ground.
Oh, yeah. That'll happen.
So we had to get those fixed. So we finally got to the point where it had to be done. And we didn't get to do a project the last 2 years. So we had the money, and the wife finally said, "I think we need to get it done." We'd already talked to the contractor from before. We had an idea of what it was going to cost, and we actually got some pretty good deals. And we just went ahead and did it. And first, it was just going to be the pavers, the fence, and then he came back and said, "Okay, we got cement left over from another job, so we can give you a great good deal on the pool now."
Oh, okay.
So we saved, I don't know, $3 or $4 grand on that. So we did that.
At least this time he had all enough material to finish it.
Yes. So we had the one side of the pavers finished. We had the pavers redone going from the patio to the pool. We had the paver done on the other side. We had both fences done. And we had always talked about getting the inside done because the guy, of course, as he's sitting there, he's like, well, what about this? And what about painting your house?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we're like, well, no, we really want to do this next. He's like, well, I do that too. And so we got a good deal on the flooring.
Good.
To have that put in. So we had the 2 bedrooms done. We had carpet in there that we have cats that, they started pulling up the carpet and
oh yeah,
the carpet the carpet was done cheap by the previous owners that did it just to, the cheapest they could do to get it sold. And we knew that. We always thought, well, after 5 years we'll replace it. And it's been 7. So,
well, you did good. If you're
so we did that, and then of course, if you're going to put in new floors, you got to paint the walls.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So ended up doing that. So we I don't know what the final number is, but it's up there.
Well, I mean, what I saw the pictures that you had done looked pretty darn good.
Yep.
So you did good.
So
the first thing I saw was you said, "Oh, the wife's out of town. I'm going to start doing stuff." And I was like, "Oh no, you're going to get yourself in trouble if you do that." But
well, that was actually misleading. That was actually misleading.
Right. She knew all about it, or at least
she
what you were doing was stuff that she knew that you could do and would want to do.
Well, we thought it was going to be later.
Right.
And she had the trip already planned, but the contractor just kind of said, "Hey, I can start now."
Oh, okay. So that's what happened.
And it was one of those things where down here, if you get a good contractor, in Florida, you don't let them go because
no, you're right.
If they go start something else, you may not see them for months.
No, you're right. That is absolutely true.
So I called her and said, he can start Monday. And she's like, I'm not there. And I said, I know.
But he is.
But he is. And he
I
can
don't care
start.
if you're not here. He can be. So we're getting him here to go do it.
Yeah. So that's how it started. And then she came back and we, of course, added other projects. But it's all good. It's all done. Today was the last day. And I think it looks fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah, the pictures I saw looked really good.
Yep, I will put the final picture of the pool. I did not do that. So we got the concrete painted over the weekend. It's finally dried. They came back today. They had to clean out the pool because all the concrete and stuff that they had chipped out before was in. So they did all that, cleaned it up nice. So I'll get pictures and post those up so we can see that. And then at some point, I will come up to visit you and we'll do an on-location set. And
sounds good. Yeah,
we get the lay of the land for your place and see what you did with your pool because you put in an entire pool, right?
Yeah.
Ours was already here.
We were thinking about either buying a bigger house or putting in a pool, and putting in the pool was cheaper, so that was the way to go. And I can't say that I'm in the pool that much. I can't say that anybody's in the pool all that much. I did have kids in the pool last weekend, but I don't care. It looks nice, and it actually feels like I've added square footage onto my house without actually having to do it.
Yep.
So there's room for kids to go outside and hang out, and I think that's great, and it definitely helps us. So we're happy about that.
Well, the wife loves the fact that we have a pool because it gives other people an excuse to come down and visit.
Yes, there you go.
We don't use the pool that much, but it's an option. Just like we don't go to the beach that much, but it's an option.
That's right.
Having the beach as close as it is to us, and for people to come down and say, "Oh, man, if I lived here, I'd be at the beach every day," and we're like, "No, you wouldn't."
No, you wouldn't. Was I just telling you? Hey, it's like when you go look at an apartment and it has a balcony, right? And you're like, "Oh, I'd love this place. I love this balcony. I'll be out here all the time." And then next thing you know, you're moving out. And you're like, "Man, I never sat out on the balcony."
Yeah. You sit out for the first week.
Right.
And then that's it. So,
Yeah, so it's one of those. That's one of those things. Yeah, you go to the beach. Oh yeah, we go to the beach. No, you don't. You're right. You don't go to the beach.
no,
Like,
you
go to the
have
beach
options.
no matter how close it is.
Yeah. I do want to acknowledge a couple of other people that popped in here. Craig McCarthy
Oh.
said hello to us. So hello, Craig.
Craig, good to
And
hear
Ronnie-
from you.
And Ronnie
Hopefully we'll
Justin.
see you.
Ronnie
Who's that?
Justin. Ronnie Justin put up this post.
Oh, Ronnie.
Does anyone else feel like stalker watching a private conversation?
Well, I guess it kind of is like that. You know, we're sitting there just.
Hey,
Yep.
that's it. That's all I wanted this to be. I mean, I know I call it the Uncle Marv podcast, but it's really not. It's just an opportunity for me to get people on and hang out and chat. You know,
I got people
really
coming in.
all right. So I was really, really bad at not keeping in
I'm
touch.
talking to
So,
Uncle Marv.
is that the kids coming in?
Yeah.
Say hello as they bounce.
Hi.
Hi.
That's Julia. She's a sophomore, just gotten home from practice. So,
Did you do good?
how was practice?
You did a bunch of workouts,
Oh yeah,
like squats and
they did a bunch of exercise and stuff. So you didn't do a lot of soccer. You just did exercise.
Only in the end.
Oh, okay.
But then our legs were all tired.
I'm gonna say you probably do a lot of stretching and a lot of endurance stuff, right?
Yeah, they don't have a game
So
this
we ran
week.
up
So
hills. It was great. And we squatted up hills. It was fun.
okay, good.
Squatted up hills. Nice.
Doesn't sound like fun to me. I'm glad I was here.
No, remember the squats we had to do for football? Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the ones I have to do here to try to get ready for. We went on a ski trip recently, so I've been trying to get in shape. Didn't work, but you know, I try to do them, and then the next thing you know, can't stand up off the couch. I was one of the people when you posted this thing. Who was it? Elise.
Elise Roth Tedeschi.
Yeah, she says, "Why don't you arrange a game, play a basketball game against a bunch of people's kids?"
I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
I'm like, "Hell no, we're not doing that." There's no way I'm going to do that. Those
I was
kids,
gonna tell her
I can't.
I already did
Marv.
something like that when I was playing. Just pick up ball here with guys. All of us. All the guys played in college. We were playing. In our 40s, we're playing against 20-year-olds.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't need to do that again.
no.
And then to have them be younger, no.
Oh no, heck no, no. Elise, if you're listening, no. Playing against young people. I don't really play basketball much anymore. So.
I'm retired for a reason. All right. Well, we
Football
need
with the kids. We played kickball yesterday for Easter. We had a little kickball game.
Well, that's different, though.
Yeah, that's all. That was all fun and games. But playing a
I
basketball
hit.
game against some 20-year-olds, forget it.
Yeah, I hit Easter eggs. That was my exercise for you.
There you go.
So, all right, Nina, we're going to need to end up here because it is after
Good
9.
stuff, Marv. Love it.
And I want to give some people that will go and watch the game an opportunity to go and see it. Ty Shoemaker, I don't think that you're a betting man, but you bet the under because the odds are Gonzaga by 4.5, and your score of 85-81 is 4. So
I have on my bracket my score. Where did I put my score? 165 points.
that's your over-under?
Yes,
All right. With Gonzaga winning?
Gonzaga winning.
All right. I'm just going to do a pick 'em with Gonzaga.
But if Baylor wins, I'll probably be happier because I will get some money.
All right. Well, Nino, I want to thank you for hanging out tonight. Thank you, folks, for watching. And be sure to come back every Monday night for the Uncle Marv podcast. We are here, hopefully having a good show for you. With all my
I would like to
friends.
try to come back on Mondays, but the kids play games on Mondays, so I can't really. I miss on Mondays.
All right.
You're off.
Well,
this
thank
week.
you.
All
All right,
right, see you,
folks. Till next time. Bye-bye.
I'll try with this hand.
All right. That's a holla.